Welcome to the first. You have a story. If you look back on your life, you've done things for the first time that no one in your family, in your town, in the country has done. This is Dr. Sandi. You have unknowingly paved the way for others without knowing it or even acknowledging it. This is where you tell your story so that those who come after you can walk in your footsteps to build their own firsts. Have you thought about what it's like to be a female soccer player on a men's team? In this episode, hear how my Jamaican cousin and ex-soccer superstar Shavine Webster got to be the first female to play on a male school soccer team at 10 years old. People, that's about 20 years ago. She knew that soccer was her future and a scholarship to a U.S. school was the means to a better life. She helped to form the first female soccer team at Lennon High School in Jamaica while playing on the male soccer team. And then she went on to the Jamaican national soccer team at 15 years old. Ladies and gentlemen, Shavine was groundbreaking. Today, after being the first in her family to graduate from college, she's the CEO of her own company, Fitter Than Your Average. She specializes in in-person and virtual personal training, coaching soccer camps, and providing super nice workout apparel. She'll be working towards a master's degree in occupational therapy and will be the first in her family for that as well. Today, I'm interviewing Shavine Webster. Shavine was a soccer star. I want to talk today to Shavine about how being the first female soccer star on her team, how that impacted other generations to come. Welcome, Shavine.
Hi, Sandy.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. I really am interested in being the first female soccer player on the male team. Is that so?
Yes, so I was the first female soccer player on my high school male team, my primary school male team, and my club team.
And primary school is elementary school level.
Yes, in Jamaica.
How did you get to be the first? How did they let you on the team?
So I started playing soccer with my cousins, and they taught me how to control the ball, how to trap a ball, stuff like that. We used to juggle, as in keep it up. We call it keep it up back home. And you know what? Every time I used to go to school in the morning, we used to be a bunch of guys under the tree, and they used to be playing keep it up. And used to stand there. I would stand there and watch them play until one morning I joined them. And after that, I think they went and tell the coach that there was this female and how she's good at keep it up and whatever. And
what is keeping it up? Is keeping the ball in the air, like kicking it and keeping it up in the air?
Yeah, so we'll have the ball in the air and we try not to let it drop. So we'll pass it around amongst each other. And we'll see who can drop it first or who can keep it up the longest. And we'll do that for hours.
And you were good at it?
Yes, I was really good at it.
Well, you had to be really good for them to go tell the coach.
Yes. So one morning the coach showed up and he introduced himself, and he was talking about how he heard about me and he would like me to come to practice to see how I played. And I was very excited. I showed up the next day. That's how it started.
So what's the process of that, of putting a girl on a boys team? Do they have to vote on it? How did the other guys take that?
It was a process because I remember he had to speak to the principal, and then they had to approve it. I really don't know in depth how they go about it, but I know it took a while, and then finally, like, yes, they will allow you to play.
And this was in Jamaica?
Yes, in Jamaica.
They still have that same problem here. I see that there are not a lot of girls playing. I noticed there were a few the other day that said, they're the first to be on a football team, football meaning American football, not soccer. There were a few for baseball.
Yeah.
They were first on baseball. So I could imagine how many years ago was this?
At that time, I was about 10 years old. So, say 22 years.
Yeah, that's a long time ago because girls just were not being put on soccer teams.
Yes, I think at that time, soccer, otherwise known as football back home, um, there's a lot of females wasn't getting involved in this type of sport because it's a guy sport back home.
Yeah.
So, but as I said, I grew up with a bunch of guys, and I was the only female actually in my yard, and everybody else played soccer, so that's how I got into it.
And how did that feel for you to be a girl on an all guys soccer team? Did they give you problems being on the team? Did other people say things about that?
Well, yes, it had its pros and it had its cons. Um, to be honest with you, I never thought about how it felt because I love the sport, so I just wanted to play. So at that time, I never looked into it, but I know there's a few times you have players complaining that I'm getting more playing time and how I'm a female.
I mean, was that true? Were they giving you preference because you were a female in terms of playing?
No, I was good because
Okay.
I loved it, so I gave it everything.
No, but I could see if I was a guy or if I was a girl and then all of a sudden they had a guy come and play on the girls' team and they're giving him all the play time, I'd have a problem with that too.
Well, yeah. I also had guys, teammates that were cheering me on.
That's
because
great.
Yes, I was actually that good. So.
We always have to be that good or even better. No joking, even better than the guys. In order for them to even say, hey, there's a female that could play soccer. You had to be not just good, you had to be better than the other guys for them to just have to admit it.
Yes.
Right?
I think what I had over most of the guys, I had speed and I loved it. I loved it. I think as guys, this is what they play, so for them it should be natural.
Right.
But for me, getting into it as a female and playing with guys, I loved it. It was a passion that makes me stand out more. I remember playing in games and you have spectators be shouting, search her, search her. She's a guy.
Search her for what?
Search her, she's a guy, if she's a male or a female.
Oh, they're going to stop a game and search you to see if you're a guy.
It's just because of the intensity of how I will keep up with them.
And the skill. I mean,
yes.
You had to have the skill.
Yes.
What did your family think about that, with you playing on it with the guys?
Well, I'll say my cousins and outside, they used to cheer me on. They used to help me a whole lot, how to trap, how to pass.
So you had support. You had support from them.
Yes, I had support from most of my cousins. My mom, I really don't know because my mom has never watched me play. So
really,
yes.
That's interesting because a lot of times when you're a parent and you see your kid is doing something different, you at least want to go watch. Do you know why she wasn't interested in watching?
I don't think she wasn't interested. I just don't think she never did it. I don't know why. I've never asked. And at that time, it never occurred to me that my mom has never watched me play it until when I got here and I got hurt, and I realized that I've been playing soccer all my life, and I've seen other parents here, and then it hits me that my mom has never really watched me play.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I would have a conversation with her about that. I mean, it's kind of late now, but yeah. I would want to know why she wasn't really that enthusiastic about seeing me play.
Growing up in a Jamaican household, they would say, well, she's a single parent, so she has to be home working. I try to put food on the table. So
that's a good excuse. That's a good excuse, but I can say my mother was a single parent and she found time to come to, even when I didn't want her to come to stuff, she would find time for that. But I think, as you said, in a lot of Black households or minority households, the parents do have to work, and that's where they put their time. They invest their time. I don't necessarily think that's right. I think they should invest their time in some of their children and make sure that that child always feels supported.
Yes.
That's a conversation I have with your mother. So tell me, when you got to high school, I mean, that was middle school, primary school, elementary school, as we call it. When you got to high school, did that change?
Did what change?
Were you on a team?
Oh,
Again, on a
yes.
team?
So the coach from primary school, when I took there was this exam that you have to take to go to high school. I
Yeah.
don't really remember the name of it, but I passed for a different school which never had a female team or a male team, and the coach from primary school insists that I continue playing, and I need to get into a school that had a female team. Lennon High School had just started a female team, so they were picking up players and stuff like that. It wasn't fully established, but he spoke to the coach, and I got transferred to that school, which my mom never wanted me to go.
Was that close to your house or further from, like,
It was further from my house. The school that I passed for was like one cab away, like 10 minutes. And my mom insisted that's the school I should go to because the next school was like 30 minutes, so it was gonna be more expensive.
Yeah.
But my coach spoke to her, and I wanted to play. Like, for me, soccer was what was gonna get me through school.
Okay.
Yeah. So I moved on.
That was your future. You saw that as where your future lay.
Well, yes. But by just playing and getting the feedback from outside spectators, my cousins, and all that, and I realized how much I loved it. I just wanted more of it, And if I could be at a school that played a sport, then why not? So
she agreed.
Well, they convinced her. And how Jamaican parents, they will say, well, if I don't have lunch money, she's staying home. So it's no more expensive. So that was the case. But I had coaches that would allow me to show up, and they would give me even fear to go back home because they wanted me to play.
Yeah, nice. Yes. So when did you start a soccer team in your school? You said you started a soccer team.
So we started a female team. We started like campaigning for a female team, but I started playing on the guys team. So when I went to Lennon, they had a U12 team, just like primary school. They had a U9, and I started playing with the guys. I was the only female then, and then when they started the female team, we get enough players, and that's when it started.
So there were women interested in playing. They just didn't have a team.
Yes, there was women interested. So in Kingston, so you have Clarendon, you have Kingston. Soccer was then permanent there. Like, it was big there, but it wasn't big in Clarendon.
Okay. What was big in Clarendon?
It's female soccer.
Okay.
Yes. We didn't have no female soccer team in Clarendon at that time.
But when you started it, there were women or girls who wanted to play and join the team.
Yes.
So that's a big thing, because do they still have one now?
Yes, they do. It's actually bigger now too.
So they should have a plaque that says Shavine Webster started this. That if you started it and it's still there, I mean, that's the legacy that you're leaving, is the soccer team for girls.
I guess.
It's not guess. I mean, these are things. This is why I'm having the podcast. We have to acknowledge when we do something well and do it better than other people, and that you're the first that's kind of paving the way for other people. And we don't do that a lot ourselves. We don't pat ourselves on the back. We don't tell other people. Sometimes other people don't even notice. But there should be something that commemorates that you started that. If you were in school here, you'd have a big trophy, a big plaque on the wall. So maybe that's something you should go to Jamaica and do. Have a ceremony and put up a plaque.
Right.
Why? See, this is something that women don't do. The men would have plaques all over the place saying, I did this, I'm the first to do that, and women don't do that. We belittle ourselves, we make ourselves smaller, we don't want to draw attention to ourselves when these are huge things. I've seen male soccer players get all kinds of, what's the OD in Jamaica? Something Order of Distinction, I think it is,
Yes,
which is like a top medal. I don't know any woman, like what woman soccer player has gotten an OD in Jamaica?
that I'm not sure. I've lived in Jamaica like 12 years now, but I know soccer has become more popular back home now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like female soccer. Yeah.
I've just not heard of one getting like a big honor like that.
No, but you have a lot of females now. They're getting scholarships and stuff like that to play overseas.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Well, speaking of that, you came to school here. You won a scholarship. You were one of the first to win a scholarship.
Yes. So in my playing for my high school, after high school, I started. No, in high school I started playing for the national team when I was 15. I got called to camp.
The Jamaican's national
Yes,
team.
I got called in the Jamaican national team. And I started playing then, and then I started playing club league. I started playing for Jago High School. Mm-hmm. So in the summer, you have this coach, Mr. Cleary. Oh, I love that man today. So because Lennon now had a female team, and Jago was one of the top female team in town, Kingston. Um, Him and my Lennon coach was pretty close.
Okay.
And he will come down to Clarendon, and he will pick me up on the highway, and I will go and train with them and play games with them. But he will not bring me to Jago because taking a female from a female team for him was against his character. Okay. And I wanted so bad to play with Jago. We had the Jago girls. We had a bond, and being a number one school and be able to play on that team and to start to have the coach like want you, like that was big for me. Like he will not leave me out whatsoever.
Are you still in touch with them?
I am.
This is like a lifetime thing. When somebody becomes a mentor, he practically became like a mentor to you and trained you and coached you. Yes. And that's a big thing to have at that age.
Yes. So years and years we played club team. Of course, got MVP several times. Nice. Playing for the Jago team, and I've got two. I remember one time we played. I don't remember what they call it, but it's like some champion league. And it was against boys actually, and we were the only female team against boys. And it's funny because I'll go in and out of the game, and at the end of the award ceremony, we went all the way to the final as a female team, right? And I'm telling you, man, that game we lived it because we were just showing the boys up. And this team was the number one, right? And we were like down 3. At that time, I was playing right back. And we had this girl, Venetia, I think her name is go by the name by String Bean, very fast, one of the top players for the national team. She was playing on the team too at that time. And Mr. Cleary called us to the side as a coach. As I said, we were down 3-0. Yeah. And he was like, well, Shavine, I'm going to put you up top and I'm going to put you with String Bean. And this is what I want you to do. I just want you to run. And me and String Bean, I was like, when I'm there, you should be there, Yeah. So we come together and I was like, we're going to give them everything for their money. We leave in everything. Yeah. And I'm telling you, Sandi, we came back and we won that game. It was like, oh my God. That was a game of a lifetime. Yes. At the end of the game, I remember they had an award ceremony. And we were just there talking, whatever, not even paying attention. Right. And I heard MVP goes to number 9 or whatever. And I'm there cheering number 9 on and going out. And everybody was like, Shevchenko, it's you. And I was like, what? I'm like, number 9? My God. That's nice. So I remember I got MVP for that game. I went home the other day and I saw the trophy, and that was a big deal. You should bring your trophy back with you. Oh my gosh. That was a big deal. I got multiple.
So when did you come to the US? When did you?
I came here around 2009. Before that, I got a scholarship here, but before that scholarship, I had like three other scholarships. Even during that game, I got offered. That was my first scholarship to University of Maine in Fort Kent. That's in
Okay.
Canada, University of Maine.
Yeah.
But I couldn't take it. I think at that time I needed to have um, homeland security and stuff like that.
Okay.
And as I said, my mom was a single parent, so at the time I couldn't. Then I got offered two more scholarships. So it's to Mr. Cleary, and who we know and who came and watched us play because he used to travel a lot. And again, I couldn't take it. But the last time,
Yeah, well, what's for you will
yes,
be for you.
yes, and I never complained. I just kept working. Yeah. The last scholarship that I got was in 2009, and at that time when I got offered, it was a full ride again. To Mr. Cleary, the coach came down and he saw me and was like, I would like to have a, but then again, I needed homeland security, and that's for here, in Alabama, Faulkner University, and I was like, no, I can't take it, and everybody was like, why? And I was like, well, I can't ask my mom for homeland security, which was like $500 at the time. Say, oh, I'm going to be here as a resident because I know she didn't have it. So right off the bat, I said no. I had this teacher, woman, Tanisha Pasco. Oh, I love her to death. So when I was playing for Lennon High School, Tanisha Pasco, she started to teach there, and she was one of the top players in her college, her teacher's college, in I think it's some university in Mandible, Church Teachers College. Yes, and she started teaching at Lennon. At the time at Lennon, I was, they call me the top midfielder. Okay. For me, I'm just a regular soccer player that loves the sport. And she showed up. Sandy, I was literally that lady's handbag. And, I'll be at practice. She will be at practice with me and all that stuff. That's so good, no, though. Yes, I needed that. She changed my life completely. I'll say that. When I got the scholarship, she was living overseas and she was living in England. She came down. She was visiting Jamaica, and at the time she called me and she was like, "Shavine, I'm here." I was like, "Oh, whoa!" And she was like, "What's new?" And I was explaining to her, I was like, I just got offered a scholarship to school, whatever. And she was like, "Are you gonna take it?" And I said, "No." She said, "Why?" I said, "Because I have to have homeland security, and then I have to pay my own plane ticket, and mommy doesn't have it, right?" And she was like, "Okay, I'll talk to you about." I was talking to this guy back home, and he insists that I was gonna take it. He will help me. I was like, "Okay." And Tanisha called me. She told me to meet her somewhere. I met up with her. She gave me $27,000 at that time, which that paid for my homeland security. She sent me to a lady at a travel agent, right? And she said, "Ask Miss Polly," backwards. And I went down there and I asked Miss Polly, and I told her Tanisha Pasco, Mr. Matthew's wife, um, send me. And when I spoke to her, she was like, "All right, come in." And she asked me the time when I was going to fly. So I said, I spoke to the coach, and he said, "If you can come XYZ time, then this will be the date when you have to come in." And she looked at the ticket and she said, "All right, I'll give you a discount." The money that Tanisha Pascal gave me, it could cover for my part of my homeland security and the plane fare for the discount that I got. So that was a little help.
Yeah, that's nice. And then when you came here, how was your time at Faulkner? So Faulkner was a girls' team. You were
Yes,
a girls' team.
Faulkner. Why?
Well, as an athlete coming from another country, like explain what are some of the good things coming from another country and some of the things you went through.
Well, the good thing about it, it gave you the experience. It gave you experience. It's completely different from what you know back home because I came here in this country by myself. At that time, I had no family. I came to Alabama, and we have a dialect back home, so I mostly speak patois, right? And now I'm in a country where all I'm seeing is basically white
English.
and English. And at that time I was scared to talk because when I talked, they didn't understand me. I had to like either slow it down or like should you slow down or what is she saying? And that used to annoy me. So that was one of the downfall of being here. Next thing we couldn't work because
Hmm.
we're on school scholarship.
I didn't
Um,
realize that athletes couldn't work.
yeah. At that time we couldn't work because your social security has on it DHS authorization only. The school they normally offer job, but we international it was hard. It was really hard. I would say that if you didn't have a support system outside
Right.
trying to help you, then it was hard, and I never had that.
I didn't realize that until Team Jamaica Bickle started, which I don't know how many years ago. Irvin Clear is the one who started that. And he used to come around and ask for donations for athletes. Like, why do they need donations? They're here on a full ride. But you didn't really think about, okay, they're getting their school and maybe housing paid
Yes,
for. But if, especially for the women,
yes.
if
So
they needed even sanitary
yes,
napkins,
that was the big thing. We only got housing and school. So food, we have to definitely eat what's provided at the cafeteria. They will give us a card where we can go to the grill, but they will only give us $25. So every week, as soon as that $25, we live at the grill, and everything up there is like $6 to $7 because the cafeteria food would be so nasty, you know.
yeah,
So, but we would go to the cafeteria. We know this is what we have to do. We have to tough it out. At the time, it was four Jamaicans there, and none of us was working, you know. But we lean on each other. I must say that we are friends right now. I have some really really good
right.
friends, Lisa, Jim Brown, Cleo, and we talked it out. We made it work, but it was really hard. It was really
And then when school had to close, because there are times you have to go home,
yes.
what did you do then?
At that time, I was talking to this boy in Jamaica still, so he would fly me back, and I'll go back for the summer. The last year I spent in school before I got hurt, I didn't go back home. I stayed on campus. I spoke to the dean and I told him I didn't have nowhere to go, and he agreed and he had me stay on campus.
Okay. Well, that was nice. That was nice of
Yes,
him.
they would allow you to stay.
And then you left Faulkner. How did you leave Faulkner and go to another college?
My third year in college, so for me, soccer here is not the same as I said as it back home. Here it's more like a track, like you're doing track and field. You do a lot of running. I see less of the ball. So the passion that I had for it when I was
Hmm.
back home, I feel like I was losing that. Normally, when I have games, I will go to bed and I'll dream about it, and then during games, I'll feel it like I
Right.
was I was here. And my first year here, I used to say to the coach, I said, I'm not enjoying this anymore because I see the ball one time or two times for the week.
Hmm.
All we do is we have fitness Tuesday, we have fitness Thursday, and we have fitness Friday. We'd have to get up 5 o'clock in the morning for class, and then we have practice two times a day, and all we do is run, right? So my second year, I went home and I called this coach, Mr. Brown, who is still in contact with my primary coach, and I would train every morning at 6 o'clock just to try to get back to
Right.
where I was. I would juggle for hours and use the wall to pass the ball, to drop the ball, get more of the ball. And when I came back, I was in the best shape ever my third year in school. After fitness and all of that, I was just jogging 5 yards. Coach said jog to the 5 yard back, and my knee went pop. My knee went pop. There was a sharp pain. I stopped and I started to stretch. You have the physical therapy there trying to help me. I tried to jog again. I couldn't move. I went to see the doctor. I did an MRI. The doctor said I was overtrained.
Hmm.
And at that time, he was like, my body needs rest and I need to stop. I want to be able to run again.
And then what happened? How did you leave there? Or were you able
Yes,
to continue playing after?
I lost my scholarship because I couldn't play, and I was pretty frustrated, so I stopped going to classes. And I decided I'm not doing this anymore if I can't play because soccer was the only reason why I was here. At that time, soccer was everything to me,
Mm-hmm.
and losing.
Losing a scholarship after you sacrificed a lot. You came to this country, and then to find out that you're going to lose your scholarship. Did that mean you'd have to go back to Jamaica?
Yes, there was a choice. If I had either I go back or I'm here on my own, by choice. But I wouldn't be able to attend school. If I'm attending school, that means I have to pay it out of my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I was on a full scholarship, and I wasn't working or anything at that time. So
So what did you do?
this happened during season when we were practicing preseason. So I had the scholarship for the year. So December, I remember I stayed on campus. I spoke to the dean, and I stayed on campus and I cried. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one night they had a game, and I was like maybe 10 to 15 yards out watching the game, and I started to cry, and I was like, this is not happening. I had a friend in Philadelphia that knew of a friend, and I used to speak to this friend, and he said to me, "Don't go back home." Right? And I was like, "Well, if I don't go back home, I have nowhere to go." And he said, "I'll help you, but whatever you do not go back home."
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up in Philadelphia.
So you literally were here illegally at that point.
Yes.
Well, and a lot of athletes, that happens to a lot of athletes because they come here, they don't have anyone here except for school, and then either I've seen people get pregnant and can't play. I've seen people like you get hurt and can't play. I mean, I saw one person got addicted to drugs and couldn't play, but you're here now. And how do you go back to Jamaica, or did you see any opportunities in Jamaica to go back to?
No, I went back home my second year, and I said I cannot go come back to this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that I wanted. And then I was the only one out of my family. I'm the second one from my mom, and I was the only one in my family here. So I had to do what was best for my future.
Mm-hmm.
And doing what best for my future, I had to stay here. And the main goal was to get myself straight here and go back into school. I had my younger brother
Mm-hmm.
who passed away.
Uh-huh.
Um,
You felt like you had to be almost like the mom, almost like the parent, right?
well, yeah, I have my younger brother. He looked up to me a lot. So for me,
It was pivotal for you to stay here to try to help.
the main thing on my mind staying here was that I have to do this for my family.
Okay. Do you think your family appreciated that? No, really. Do you
To be
think? I
a,
mean, that's a big sacrifice
to be,
to take on the whole burden of an entire family. I mean, do you think it's appreciated that, or it's just taken for granted that you
to,
should do this?
to be honest, I don't. I don't think they know or they understand the sacrifice for what we have to go through here.
Yeah. And
And
I've
really
heard
know.
people say that. I've heard, I mean, I came here as a little kid, so my mom did the sacrificing, right? So I don't know all the ins and outs, but from what I've heard, not just from athletes, but from people who come here as an immigrant from another country and have to lay the foundation and the path for their other family members to come, it's really hard.
I think my family, even now, feel like it was my job. Like this is what I'm supposed to do, or this is what I had to do.
It's an obligation.
Yes, like I'm obligated to do it. And I really don't think they understood the entire situation or the journey of getting to where I was to where I'm at right now. And that for me it's very hard. It's very hard. It's a heavy load to carry.
I think, Shavine, honestly, for a lot of immigrants, it is a heavy load. I've seen people come here and they work to send almost every dollar. Every dollar that they're not using here goes back home. And it becomes almost an entitlement, right? It's a sense of entitlement to the people who are there getting the money. So I've seen people not go to work because they're depending on that money to come. And if that money isn't there like every 2 weeks or every month, they're upset.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to be doing this. I've seen even with my mom, how hard she used to work. Send a barrel, you pack these barrels with like everything from clothes to shoes. And that's on top of sending the cash. That's not instead of sending. And you send the barrel and you have to send the cash to take it out. So all of these things, until people come here and do for themselves, they don't appreciate what you go through.
You know what, Sandy? At one point, I thought that it was up to me to pave the way for them, to make sure that they could have the life that we never had.
Yes. And you're seeing that life here now.
Yes.
So you want them to have that. And did they take advantage of that? Did that ever come to fruition?
Well, my mom has the opportunity to come here now, but she will never come. Okay. America is too hard for her. She's too old.
It's too hard for all of us, but
I had the opportunity to, after I lost my scholarship, I was living in Philadelphia for 2 years. I did what I had to do to get myself situated, and I went back to school, and I got my degree. Getting the degree was very important to me, because I used to.
And you're the first person in your family to get a degree,
Yes. And I wanted to show my brother, the little one, that this is important, because he hated school. And I could understand why he hated school, because I was never a school person. I was pretty smart, but gosh, I hated school. Soccer was the only reason. During college, we had to maintain a 3.5 GPA, and we had to be in study all of that. But I will keep that GPA up in order to make that bus, because I'm not staying home.
I think that's a good thing, though, in college they force you to keep up a GPA, because you got hurt, and then what? If you were just solely depending on soccer, there goes your life. But you got an education, you got a degree out of it, and now you have something to move into the rest of the world with.
Well, yes, but at that time, soccer was my life. Until when I got hurt, I realized that there's more beyond soccer. And I gotta look at it from a different perspective. At first, I was very angry. I wasn't angry at myself. I was angry mostly with God. Reason being, He took me from my country and brought me here, and I thought that was for a major reason, because I was good and I love what I did and all that. But
so you got complacent with God. God's gonna do all of this for you. That's kind of what you're saying. You got angry at God, like, I'm not the best anymore, and I got hurt, and therefore, what are you doing this to me for?
Well, that was basically how it went down. I screamed, I shouted, I stood in a wall, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, because as I said, I'm the only one here. And for me, I think, this was it. Yeah. There was nothing else that could stop me from reaching to where I want to reach. And then boom, one night I lost everything.
So you had to do some work.
I lost everything.
You're upset that you had to do some work.
I was working. But then, what I got from it is that the Bible told you that God is a jealous God. Thou shalt not have any other God before me. And I felt at that time soccer was my God.
Soccer was your God. Yes.
if I'm mad and I'm feeling down, I can pick that ball up, and I'm telling you, like the relief that I get, it's unbelievable. Like just knowing that I it's I don't know.
You're
It's
good
like
at
we
it.
have a
It's something you're good
relationship,
at. Yes.
If I
Yeah.
kick it there, it's gonna land where exactly where I want it. If I pass it on the wall, it's gonna come exactly back to me. So this was the control, and that was all gone. So
Mhm.
no, I had no control. So I had to retrain my mind and everything, and that's when I realized that this was all for the wrong reason.
And so, how did you sort that out with God, with the man?
Well, I will say thanks to Lisa and Jim Brown. Um, Lisa is a Christian. Jim Brown is a Christian in college, and she will always be talking about God. Look at it this way, that way. Jim Brown is the same, and I'm always the one that's on the defense. If
Yeah.
God is for you, why is He taking? If He see all things and He knows all things, why is He doing this? But then I remember one Sunday when I asked Dean to stay on campus, Lisa and Jim Brown, they were staying in the neighborhood because they couldn't go back home.
Okay.
As I said, it was so hard for us. They didn't have money to go back home.
Right.
And I remember one Sunday they showed up at my door and they're like, "We're going to church." I was like, "What?" I ain't going to no church. And they're like, "We're going to church." I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm not going to no church. I want to hear nothing about y'all God or whatever." And they grabbed me. Jim Brown grabbed me and he put me on his shoulder like, "You're going to church."
Yeah.
So I literally gave in. I was like, I'm not going like this. So let me get dressed, and I went to church, and the message was about shame and guilt. And they had got on the cross, and they were talking about why are we walking around all this burden instead of give it to him. He's willing to take it
Yeah.
and all that. And they passed around a nail, and the guy is like, "Just let it out. Squeeze the nail as tight as possible and toss it in the bin and let it out." Trust me, it took me a while. I had a line. Let's just say I had a line behind me. I was standing there with a long line behind me. I remember somebody tapped me on my shoulder.
Like, are
I
you
was
still
like,
alive?
"What?" I got my, you know what? I tossed it in the bin. I said, "That's it. That's it. I'm done. I'm done." And that's when I started to read more, and
Yeah.
trust him more, and say, "You know what? I'm yours." You know.
Yeah. And God definitely is a jealous God. And because he knows everything, he wants you to come to him because you want to come to him. And nobody ever said we didn't have to go through a lot of pain before we get there, right? But we always just want everything to be smooth sailing. I'm the best, and why can't I be the best? And we don't realize that we might be the best at that thing, but there are a lot of things because you're practicing that one thing. There's a whole world out there you're not the best at.
Yeah.
And when something happens and that stares you in the face, it's like, "Oh God, why, it's all your fault."
Yeah.
Even though he brought you to it in the
Yes.
first place,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So yeah, it's funny the relationship we have with
Yes.
God.
But we're human.
Yes, we are.
We're human, and we're not expecting it to go like that. If if you said you see all things and you know all things, why would you put me through all of this?
Test.
But I've
Gotta have
come
a test.
yes, I've come to understand that not everybody's journey is the same. Because my journey, the rest of the players that came from Jamaica journey was totally different.
Right.
I was the only one that got hurt, and I was one of the best ones out of all. So that was kind of hard for me to take. Like I really loved it, and you have players there that were just getting by,
And stuff.
and I'm like, what? Like they're able to get a full scholarship and just go through smooth, and I'm supposed to be at the back seat.
But you did it. I
Yes,
mean,
I did.
you went out there and you did it on your own. So tell me about Fitter Than Your Average. What are you doing now?
So with Fidelity Average, I'm a personal trainer. I also coach soccer, and for me, I have big ties from soccer, and it's hard to find apparels. It's hard to find leggings that really fit and the crotch that don't come up right when
Because your thighs are big. You have to.
my thighs are
You should put up
okay.
your thighs
No,
and
no,
show your
my
thighs.
thighs are perfectly fine.
They're like twice more than mine.
Yes. So, but how I came up with Fidelity Average is when I went back to school in Oklahoma. Um, I remember I went to a mall and I got a shirt, and I was there with a friend, and the person said, "Shavine, this is you. Like, look at this shirt. What it says." And I was like, "Yo, Fidelity Average," and I took it up, and I was like, "You know what?" And every day I used to be in that shirt until people started calling me Fidelity Average. And I remember here in New York, there was this guy, Greg. He said, "You should come up with a brand name." And I said, "Any name I'm going with is Fidelity Average because that's what I've been using. That's what people have been calling me." And that's when I gave, I named my company Fidelity Average.
And Shavine is fitter than the average person. Trust me. If you see her workout videos, I just watch them. I don't do them. I just watch because they're murderous. Very, very well done, but a lot of work. And she's always in the gym, people. She's always so the gym has replaced soccer. Let me say that. But so you sell just apparels on your?
Yes, I have. I sell leggings and mostly female stuff. I do have shirts.
Is it fitterthanyouraverage.com?
Yes, it's fitterthanyouraverage.com. We have quality apparels on there. They don't ride, they don't squat proof, good stuff.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Well, I know I have one or two pieces there, so it works, and you're comfortable in them, so I can vouch for that. So what's next for you, Shavine?
Well, to be honest,
especially with COVID, I mean, what's going on?
I work at a Harrison Hospital in White Plains as a behavioral health tech, and I also do virtual training. I have clients that I do one-on-one in person too. I coach soccer. I do a lot of stuff. Let's just say I gotta
Are
keep
you back
moving.
coaching soccer
I
now?
keep moving. Yes, spring season just started back, so.
Oh, nice.
Back. Yes.
Nice.
So Shavine is always on the move. I cannot stay still.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I know that feeling. I'm always on the move.
But I'm planning on going back to school. I did apply to go back to do nursing, and then I changed my mind. I don't think nursing is for me.
Well, what do you want? What do you think you want to do? For a master's? You're going back for a master's?
Occupational therapy.
That goes good with soccer, and it goes good with all your physical stuff, and that's all right. Well, good luck. Do you know what school you want to?
At the moment, the school that I try to get into, it's online, but you have to do the clinic in person. That's in Boston.
Okay.
And with my job, I have to be there every other weekend at work. And with the clinical, they do it every weekend. So that's a big downfall. I don't know. So I got to try a different route.
Okay, well, maybe there are other schools that have their clinicals online.
Yes. I think with the clinicals, you have to do
How many weekends do you do the clinicals? I
think I have to be there every weekend.
Oh, every weekend.
Yeah. And that's my job every other weekend I have to work. So that's the part. That's
okay. Can you ask them? Sometimes you just have to ask.
I know. I thought about that. So I will see.
Well, wait until you get in, and then you ask them. Yes, or you tell them that you need a change in schedule because you have school. Does your job pay for school?
Yes, it does.
See? Hey. Yeah, then usually they'll be a little bit more accommodating if they know it's school. And especially something to do that they can use at the hospital in one way or the other. So don't be afraid to ask them. You could ask them. So Shavine, thank you. Thank you for talking to me today. I learned a lot, and I'm sure you did too. And see more about Shavine at fitterthanyouraverage.com. Nice apparels for working out. It's summertime now, so you should be able to go get some new duds to work out in. And I'll catch you another time and we can talk about what your next is in the next life.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. This is Dr. Sandy. Thank you so much for sharing your journey on the first, where no two stories are alike, even if the circumstances are similar. Let this discussion serve as inspiration for others to show what's possible, and more importantly, to produce seconds and thirds.